How are you going to call me a Nintendo YouTuber when on a Sunday I'm uploading 2 videos about Xbox? Clearly, I'm the king of Xbox YouTube. But yes, we have some more stuff to talk about. This is literally the gift that keeps on giving. It seems like Xbox behind the scenes is just like burning to the ground, and there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening with Game Pass price increases, system price increases, retailers now deciding not to carry the Xbox consoles anymore. And you have to imagine that there's some bigger picture with this. You have to imagine that there's more going on than what initially meets the eye. Well, a report came out by a leaker that pretty much paints a picture that many of us have imagined that Xbox was essentially going to kind of lean into. And this was kind of the true future of Xbox, no matter what slick Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty and Satya Nadella wanted to say about the future of Xbox. Now, we're going to talk about all of this information, go over it one by one, because there's quite a lot of things going on. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, the person who is providing this information is a leaker by the name of Sneaker SO. Now, initially, I was unfamiliar with Mr. or Mrs. or they, them, whatever, Sneaker SO, but I did look them up. They have talked about other things before, such as when Microsoft was planning on putting games onto other platforms. Jason Schreier, love him or hate him, actually has corroborated with various reports from Sneaker SO over the years. So this isn't just some willy-nilly guy or girl or person, whatever, dude. It's 2025. This is an individual who has a somewhat of a track record and has actually been verified by other leakers in the sphere. Of course, this is all just speculation, rumors, whatever you want to call it, but I think based on their track record and really just based on the eye test of what we're seeing Xbox doing, there is reason to believe that this stuff is indeed true. The first thing on the docket is that more mass layoffs are coming in Q1 of 2026 and will be as big as the last wave. And I don't think that surprises anyone, even if you take Xbox out of the equation, even though this will be primarily Xbox and, I'm sure some Microsoft stuff will be impacted as well. But like, look at where they're banking their future on right now, and that is with AI. I think we are getting to an AI bubble. I do understand that AI is pretty terrifying when it comes to creation and how it's infiltrating things like music and stuff like that. But I do think that if you have too much of AI, it's like, well, who's going to choose your AI program over another? And really, how far can AI go as far as being able to create original content, more so than, is there going to be some sort of revolution against it where companies, government gets involved or something like that? I do think that will happen, even though the cat is out of the bag. But more mass layoffs are coming in Q1 of 2026. New Xbox hardware went from being a for sure thing to now up in the air and might not happen at all. A new Xbox console was supposed to be out by 2026, but is no longer the case now. Well, wait a minute. Sarah Bond came out there and hyped up this thing. Remember? Nobody was asking about the next generation Xbox console. Nobody said, hey, I want to know like what's going on with the next generation Xbox console. But Sarah Bond came out there and let us know that it's in the works. It's going to be the biggest technological leap ever for a video game console, which makes absolutely no sense when you look at like the Super Nintendo to the N64 or the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2. Like, you're never going to get leaps like that ever again, and it's just because of the diminishing returns of technology. But maybe from a technical perspective, they've doubled the RAM or something like who cares, dude? You need to be talking about games and not canceling stuff like Perfect Dark. But now it seems like this Xbox hardware is not happening at all. It seems like this could be a cancellation of the upcoming Xbox hardware. which shouldn't come as a huge shock to anyone when you look at how they've handled this generation with the Xbox Series and the Xbox Series X. We'll get into that in a little bit. Costco no longer selling Xbox is just the beginning. Many more retailers will follow soon. Now, that is something that we've actually seen with Sam's Club, of course, doing the heavy discounted clearance prices. But something else that a lot of people aren't mentioning is this holiday season, I got Christmas catalogs, kind of like the old Sears thing, but, much more diminished and much less cool because it's not toys I wanted as a kid. But I got things like this from both Walmart and Amazon, and these are like books where you can flip through the pages, and of course they have video games in there. And there was like no Xbox stuff. There was PlayStation with PlayStation 5. There was Nintendo with Nintendo Switch 2, but there was like no Xbox stuff there. And it kind of makes you wonder, why is that? Like, it's the holiday season. Now, granted, you did just do another price increase, so I mean, really, who's going to want to buy your console? But the lack of console space during holiday advertisements is definitely something that you have to raise an eyebrow on, and I don't know if many people have been noticing that. Call of Duty wasn't working on Game Pass at all financially. Of course, that was today's earlier video, so make sure you go check that out. The future of Xbox is software publishing, focused on high-profit titles like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, Forza, and Candy Crush. Cloud gaming will be the new home for the Xbox platform. Game Pass to be transitioned to a point of entry subscription into it. And cloud gaming is something that we've been talking about as well in the whole sphere of what is going on here. Because obviously they are kind of banking on cloud gaming, and by putting in those things with the Game Pass tiers to where if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you get priority access to cloud gaming. And then the other tiers are considered like the pissant tiers. You're the poverty tiers. You have to wait to get into cloud gaming. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Isn't the point of cloud gaming just to boot up a game and play it? I don't need to have all this other crap. And then you're going to have a free tier where you have limited access and you have to watch and speak into your phone or speak into your remote that you are watching an advertisement. Who wants this? Who is the audience for this? You already have cloud gaming. It's already available on certain televisions straight out of the box from the factory, and people are still not adopting this as the main thing when it comes to gaming. Oh, by the way, more Game Pass price increases are coming. They're releasing all their software on any marketplace that has users willing to buy. Speculates that OEMs may end up trying to make hardware for the Xbox brand, but it is unlikely any will want to due to the decline of the brand. So that last thing is kind of talking about like how the 3DO was set up, where you had multiple companies making the 3DO hardware. There was Gold Star, whatever the other one was, but there was multiple companies making the 3DO console, and the mindset was that, okay, well, multiple companies will make the console and we'll make it up in the software side of things when it comes to sales, and obviously that did not work. And as I'm looking over these plans, as I'm looking over these things that they're wanting to do, it's just kind of like you made the wrong decision here, and people tried to tell you that you made the wrong decision, that good games do sell consoles, that a traditional console space still has relevancy. You gave up on this stuff years ago when you said that good games would not sell Xbox consoles. An absolute slap in the face to your fan base, because you have data that shows that they will. The Xbox 360. Why did people buy the Xbox 360? Because it had good-ass games on it. It had a great library of exclusive titles, and it had good third-party titles as well. You kind of screwed up Japan, but that's fine. You made up for it in other regions. But going from the Xbox 360 to what we have now with the Xbox Series, and this whole kind of trying to pivot, taking away things from the consumer, raising the prices of things like Game Pass, raising the prices of your consoles, it's clear you don't care about selling consoles anymore. And I said this 6 months ago when all of this stuff was happening, and people said, oh, you're crazy. Of course they care about selling consoles. Why would they still make consoles? And it's like, bro, it's just an optics thing at this point in time. They're not ready to completely pull the plug, but the plug has been pulled. It just hasn't been pulled in your eyes. They haven't pulled the plug in terms of the consumer. But behind the scenes, they are completely pivoting on stuff like this. They expected Call of Duty to make things like Game Pass jump from 30 million plus to 50 to 60 million plus. And it's like, whoever thought that should be fired. Honestly, I would fire all of these people. All of these yes men, all of these people who said, oh no, this is a good idea. Yeah, this is going to work. You should all be removed because you obviously do not know the industry that you are involved in. You do not know the industry that you are intertwined with. You could have looked at how Game Pass was doing and made a smart assumption in the earlier stages of Game Pass to realize that maybe you shouldn't pivot completely all in on this, where all the first party games are on there, this, that, and the other. You have an a la carte service to where you get access to some games every month, and it's a curated library, it's a cheap price point, and that is supplemental. You end up getting more people to sign up for that because it's a supplemental thing, and then people still buy their games. But when you make games like Redfall, nobody's going to buy that game to begin with. Microsoft, they screwed this all up. They screwed up Xbox, and all of the people that questioned it along the way are now the ones that are vindicated. And all of the shills who sucked from Phil Spencer's milky teat, although that's kind of gone because he's on that Ozempic, I'm assuming. That man got really skinny. But all those people that were sucking on Phil Spencer's teat and saying, oh, Phil, you're so great, let's go out to lunch, your Xbox is the future is Xbox. You lost all credibility now. Because you couldn't look at it from an objective standpoint. And that's why I look at every company from an objective standpoint. I might talk about Nintendo a lot, but I'm also one of their biggest critics too. Because I'm not a fanboy. I'm not sucking from the teat. I understand that, everything is not going to be perfect, but when decisions are made that are clearly counterproductive for the consumer and, more importantly, counterproductive for the brand, I'm going to call that out. So, goodbye Xbox consoles. Like, here's the biggest thing about this. The most diehard Xbox people are the ones that are chronically online. So they're going to see this report and they're just going to be like, all right, it's time to go to PC. I've already seen kids move saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm going over to PC. Does anyone want to buy my Xbox? Like, you're just hurrying up the process now. Because everyone is seeing the writing on the wall with this. Everyone is seeing that Xbox is essentially a dying, damaged brand. And there's no one to blame but Xbox for this. At the end of the day, it's all Xbox's fault. Parasocial relationships, piss poor management, piss poor decision making, throwing things and hoping they stick when they throw them to the wall, and nothing really stuck. You should have just stayed the course, Xbox. And now that goes into a whole bigger discussion that if Xbox goes out of the console side of things, just PlayStation and Nintendo, boy, oh boy, RIP competition, that's going to be a whole nother can of worms. But that's a topic for another day. Let me know how you feel about all of this in the comment section down below. Now, granted, this is just rumors. This is just speculation. But I am tending to believe that this stuff is actually accurate based on the information that the individual has given before. Things can always change, though. So, take it with a bit of a grain of salt. But I think most people can see the writing on the wall with this situation. And it definitely lines up more so with this than it would anything else. Make sure you check out the earlier video from today talking about Call of Duty and why a lot of Xbox people are potentially going to hell because they lied with their hand on the Bible. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.